the stabbing of Salman Rushdie, a British novelist of Indian descent,
Indian, yeah.
living in New York. And I have always said it that and this is my prediction as well. I've always felt that this might be my undoing as well, and that is complacency. So I'm not going to blame, but we do have news stories that I think Salman Rushdie a few months ago, I think there was a news story in Guardian or one of these newspapers where he said that his life is back to normal now, and it seems like he might have dropped the ball. He thought that his life was not really under threat the way it had been for the past 30 years. So a brief rundown on what actually happened, and there's a detailed stream I did yesterday with Amin Nawabi, and there were some theories around that as well. And Amin Nawabi is of the view that this is not really this is not just about Islam. It's more so about Iran trying to be the leader of the Muslim world back in the 80s after the Islamic Revolution, and that's why they made the statement, because it never made sense that why Iran is taking special interest in an author of Indian descent writing in English. Why no fatwas were issued by Pakistanis or any other Muslim countries? Why Iran? So Amin Nawabi is of the view that that was because Iran wanted to be the lead. Khamenei at that time wanted to be the leader of the Muslim world, and hence they issued this fatwa. 30 years later, that fatwa obviously never went away, and this dude acted on it. And what seems like it, that he was a massive fan of the Iranian regime. This is the guy. Have a look at his face. This guy. And I just tweeted, I said, if you want to know what coronavirus can do to you, look at this terrorist who stabbed an unsuspecting old person. So parents should keep, and this is why we say Islam is a very dangerous ideology. It's a totalitarian ideology that firmly believes in violence. And as a result, you can see a lot of Pakistanis, a lot of Muslims are actually celebrating it. And those Muslims who live in Western countries, they are choosing to stay quiet. One such individual, I spoke about it, I tweeted him recently. Let me show that to you. He basically said that we need to stay quiet. We don't have to comment on everything. It's this guy. Sorry. This guy. He says, Roshan M. Sahi, he says, advice to Muslims living in the West, because in the East, you can say whatever you want in your Muslim countries. Nobody's going to shame you or anything. But if you are living in the West, don't say anything. I mean, don't condemn it, because you don't want to condemn it. But if you support it, then you are going to get in trouble. So we do not have to comment publicly on every single matter. Just like everyone else, we have the right to remain silent, and we should always weigh up the pros and cons of speaking our mind. Yes, the pros and cons obviously being, if you support it, then people would see you for what you are. And if you,
that's literally showing that you're there like wolves in sheep's clothing, right? Like, obviously that is such a cop-out to say that, to advise them that obviously you can't call out this violence because you can't, because according to theology, that's the right thing to do, and you know it.
Exactly.
But yeah, it's just scary. It's literally just really reinforcing the fact that a lot of these lay or moderate Muslims who were just laying low in the West actually harbor the same mentality. They're just playing a game.
They think it's virtue. They don't do ifs and buts about it. They think it's virtue. They think it's fair enough. And I say, yeah, you can stay quiet all you want, but that helps us prove our point that you are indeed supportive of extrajudicial killings, as Muhammad himself did with the blasphemous. There will be no place left, at least in the West, to hide your hypocrisy. That's true. And I notice why so many of these people have actually stayed quiet. Look at him. Ali Dawah says This is a hypocrisy, black and white. Ali Dawah says blasphemers should only be killed in the Islamic countries. But when blasphemers do get killed in non-Islamic countries by vigilantes, why don't they speak about it? He should say, he should come out and say, well, I don't support this, and this is bad, this is wrong, because America, last I checked, is not an Islamic country.
Yep.
But he doesn't say anything. In fact, he finds a way to make a joke about it. Have a look at this one. He said he
What?
deliberately made this vaguely worded tweet. He said, Alhamdulillah, had great news today. We'll decide to share it. But obviously, this is vague as it is the Quran. He says, oh, and obviously people were saying, we see you're talking about Salman Rushdie getting stabbed. He said, never knew a good news of a personal matter pertaining to myself would cause such speculations. This is really like Allah, which is the fake idea of Muhammad. He makes these vague verses, and when they get called out, they say, oh, I didn't mean that. Some people are morons. No, you are a moron for timing this tweet, whether you had another baby or whatever. Why did you word it like that? Why? Because we know what you're doing. So that's just him. I have seen total crickets from these Dawa people. I don't know, Muhammad Hijab. To my surprise, even someone like Mehdi Hassan, who sometimes has shown his secular credentials, where he has called out some violent people as well, violent Islamists as well. But this time he is staying awfully quiet. It's been nearly 3 days now. Have a look at this. I'm again just speculating, because I think it doesn't hurt if you are so involved in this in your commentary regarding issues of Islamophobia, Islam, religion, whatever. Islam is a religion of peace, blah, blah, blah. And then you just stay quiet. Hasn't said anything.
Especially when you stay quiet in the name of, when violence is being done in the name of Islam, like regardless, whatever, if that person thought even an iota that what he was doing was something that Islam prescribed for him to do, you've got to even just call it out to say that's not our Islam, or we don't believe in this. Just say something. Call out violence.
Yeah, just that. And this is what you believe in. You say that you don't believe in violent Islam. You say that Islam is a religion of peace. You say that it's just some of these people. But he doesn't
practice
say
what you
anything
preach,
about.
right? Exactly.
Yeah,
because
so this is an
you don't want to
excellent
get
opportunity.
ostracized. Yeah.
This is an excellent opportunity, but to just one tweet, even if it's fake. I mean, even if you want to fool people, just keep fooling them. But no, these are the moments when these guys are caught out for their hypocrisy. This is exactly what they believe in, and they don't say anything. I'll just say that there's some Muslims who have tweeted, some Muslims have spoken about it, but again, people like us, we say that not all Muslims are like that, and I genuinely believe that. But our claim gets weakened when we see that majority of Muslims actually don't say anything; they just stay quiet. By the way,
silence should speak volumes in that matter, because if you really believe them to be the progressive, pacifist type people from the religion of peace that is perfectly in alignment with, the 21st century, then they should be on your side and they should be calling it out. So their silence is very, very telling.
I would say they're complicit. They're celebrating it. Masih Ali Najat has obviously, she's onto it as well. Look at this. This is how they posted it on. This is Iranian newspaper that says Satan's eye has been blinded. This is the front page of Iranian State. So anyway, so this is basically how I think Geert Wilders has been getting threats as well, mostly from Pakistanis. It's just I'm actually surprised this guy Mahdi, whatever his name is not from Pakistan. But he's been getting these threats like that. I can count the amount of hate and threats they send me now after the barbaric attack on the brave Salman Rushdie. These are some of them. I want to kill you, MF. Be ready, you're next. Inshallah, Islam lover will fly your head soon. I'm coming to Haaland very soon.
Jeez.
There's some people saying that, I'll infinite amount of tweets, basically. Even J.K. Rowling, even she, I mean, last I checked, she doesn't talk about Islam or anything. She doesn't, she's got nothing in it. All she did was she tweeted. She said she's horrified to find out what's happened with Salman Rushdie, and even showing sympathy can put you on the hit list. And this is exactly what happened in India. We saw recently. Nupur Sharma said something. What Islamic literature and Islamic theology is filled with it. So people who just liked her video, they had to be, they ended up getting killed as well. So that's the nature of these are the kind of people we're actually dealing with. But the good news is, I mean, unless you're living under a rock, I'll just give you a recap. So Salman Rushdie was in New York. He had been living in New York. He went upstate. He went to this place. There were nearly 2,000 people there. And apparently, by the sounds of it, the security was horrible. Only tickets were checked. The bags were not checked. They were not allowed in. Anyone could have walked in, and that's exactly what happened. It was heavily advertised. The locals knew Salman Rushdie is going to be there. And this guy just runs to Salman Rushdie when he's on stage talking about his books. Not even satanic verses. I think this was a long time in the past. He had moved on from it. And this guy just stabbed him multiple times in the neck, in the eye, abdomen. His liver was damaged. Initially, he was, they didn't say whether he was in critical condition or not, but it looked pretty scary. And we weren't sure what's going to happen. But the good news is that he has started talking, and he's making jokes. He has an eye patch. He might lose an eye, but he's expected to make a full recovery. So I would say that how helpless is your Allah, that he sends these mindless zombies, and he still can't get it right. He doesn't that show that what kind of religion? I mean, you're obviously following a false Allah, a false God. If you think that's the that's one true God. I mean, that should shake your faith. But the good news is that a lot of people have come out and have spoken in support of him. Some notable people being obviously Justin Trudeau. He's shown solidarity with Salman Rushdie and has stood up for the freedom of speech, obviously. The French President Emmanuel Macron, he's shown solidarity with Salman Rushdie. A lot of your tweet is right up there as well. That's doing well. What's his name? Rishi Sunak. He's spoken in support of Salman Rushdie as well, and so yeah, a lot of people are making a firm stand against this thuggery, this barbarianism, this barbaric attitude of Islam towards. What is this video? Okay, so this guy. So this Pakistani guy, the Saad Hussain, the one who took over from Khadim Hussain Rizvi, he just said he held a big rally, and he just said that soon every blasphemer will be killed, Rushdie will be killed, and then we'll hold a special ceremony for that. So this guy is extremely popular. So it clearly looks like we're dealing with zombies from a different planet who see nothing wrong with that. Yeah, so I'm just rooting. I'm just waiting for Salman Rushdie to make a full recovery and come out, speak about it. And this is going to do more damage to Islam and Muslim community than the thing. Everything they do, it backfires. They can say it all they want, and th- these kind of events are reminders to all of us that it can happen to us, and there's no room for complacency. As Salman Rushdie probably made this mistake. He thought that his life was back to normal now. But by and large, 10, 15 years since Salman Rushdie published his book, a lot has changed. And he probably thought that there are so many ex-Muslims out there. There are people who've done far worse things than what he did. So, he might be off he might be off the list, but he obviously wasn't. But the more we do it, the more even Muslims will get desensitized. They're just far too many. They're just far too many to kill. And it looks like even when they try, the success rate is still pretty low, assuming that Salman Rushdie will pull through.
Yeah, it goes to show though, like, I mean, honestly, this incident really kind of shook me up. I don't know if it's because, as you start doing this and you get like a bit comfortable with the activism and you live your life out, you kind of you start to think that you have this, you can live a normal life, but you don't realize, what's happening in the background and who's been watching your videos or who's suddenly become aware of you. But yeah, like, 3 decades later to still, I mean, like, as everyone who reported it said that the perpetrator in this case wasn't even born when Salman Rushdie wrote that book. In all likelihood, he's never even read the damn thing. Like, he has no idea. All he knows is that this is a man that needs to be hated and dealt with. And there was even up to a $3 million bounty on his head at one point. So yeah, I mean, that's enough incentive for anyone who, takes that manual seriously or is affiliated with state level theocracy like that. But yeah, I am so glad that he, like, one of the first things that was the updates of his condition was that he's making jokes, which is like, he's taken this whole thing in his stride, and it's almost like, okay, Salman Rushdie 1, Allah 0, well 2, because the Satanic Verses is still around. You can still buy it, order it, read it. In fact, this has actually backfired, and a lot of people who had no interest in the Satanic Verses are now buying copies or sharing it around and reading it and getting interested. So if anything, this is just like resurrected that very interest in the Satanic Verses. And I went on a bit of a Twitter spree yesterday as well, because if you talk about Salman Rushdie's Satanic Verses, on the other end of the equation is, okay, well, what is he alluding to? What has he dramatized and, made this kind of fictional story out of? And then you find that Islamic history contains the actual Satanic Verses, and that is very, very detrimental to, like...
And we're going to talk about it.
Yeah, because it's detrimental to Muhammad's entire claim to prophethood. And he's effectively committed the biggest, gravest sin in Islam that you commit by doing so, which is shirk, associating partners with God, when he says you can pray to the three god, like, bird idols. Yeah.
We'll talk about that in detail.
Okay. Yeah, but I just want to round up the Salman Rushdie thing. So I completely forgot what I was going to say. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just saying that piggybacking off you, that people are going to read. So if you put S there, Salman Rushdie comes up. He's right at the top. If you put SAT, the Satanic Verses comes up. So those people who didn't know what Satanic Verses is, those people who didn't know who Salman Rushdie was, it's just gonna backfire, and more people are gonna find out about it. More people are gonna learn about it, and we're gonna take this opportunity and we're gonna just talk about it, the whole controversy of what Satanic Verses were. So yeah,
and just on that point again, I'm saying, like, this incident actually really shook me up. But I don't know, because obviously as I got into this movement and stuff, and I learned about the Rushdie affair and what happened in the UK, and then for it to come all the way full circle now, when suddenly you find yourself kind of in the same war that he is in against the same enemy, it makes everything just feel so much closer to home. And yeah, I just think obviously nobody can afford to ever get complacent once you've dabbled in this. And I know you were mentioning threats to, like, J.K. Rowling and stuff, but I mean, just even based on tweeting yesterday, like, threats were way closer to home. I'm sure you got some, but I've got some. Why are you scared that you're next? And all of that kind of thing, you know? And I was like, oh, wow, this is actually like, obviously, you know, most of these attacks are pretty sporadic, but it's also tapping into like the psyche of like an Islamist or a fanatic or somebody of a jihadi mindset. If somebody is successful and almost getting hero worshipped, as we've seen the responses from Muslims, it really does encourage this like fervor within them. So it can hype other people up, obviously. And yeah, it's just scary now because you're just every step of the day and the way, like every kind of like, you know, trail you leave, whether it's a paper trail or an online trail on social media, you've really got to keep your eyes peeled. But yeah.
And some people might say that what is it, but let me tell you, being an activist, if you see it, it is a heavy work that we're doing. I mean, I, without trying to sound like, oh, you know, look at us, how brave we are, or how you know, how important we are, without sounding like that. But and we don't usually talk about it much. It does affect us. It does make us wonder: is it all worth it? Should we just?
It's like, you know, I'm not ready to die. I want to live a bit more. But shoot, I'm in now.
Yeah. Or there's an easy way out. Just apologize and say, look, I've become a Muslim again. I was so wrong. Delete your channel and move on.
Over my dead body, mate.
Oh, exactly. And that exactly is the attitude of every single activist, because whatever you talk about, whatever you believe in, you can either, you know, smother those that fire. You either smother it or you risk your lives. And that's we do see that. I mean, I did record this video a while ago, and I think I'm going to record another video soon, like in case, you know, one day you wake up and you find out I've been stabbed fatally or killed or whatever. So, you know, like I'll send it to some of those people to release that if I am dead, so I can say that there's no regrets. Obviously didn't want to die. I would love to have hung around till 2050 and see how the world would be at that point.
And so Muslims can't say that you said the Shahada before your dying breath and
transform
the world.
Oh, absolutely. And if somebody films my last words, if I can say something, then I don't think I think that would dampen the spirits of a lot of Muslims.
Make it some famous last words, please. We'll all try to do the same.
Well, they'll be very abusive. They'll be very abusive. Let me just say that. They'll be very abusive towards Islam and Muhammad.
Your final hurrah.
Yeah, my last hurrah. But what we do is we do rely on your support. We do rely on your support. We don't take any funding from any organizations. There are no Zionists behind us. There's no rich American lobbies or you know, the deep states who have installed us. We don't have you know, big bank balances that we can have security or whatever. So, but whatever we do, whatever we rely on individual support from our subscribers and ordinary people. That's all we rely on. So yeah, I mean, it's you know, so when I do say support me or support us on Patreon or by becoming a member or, you know, through PayPal or something, it does help. You know, it does help. So yeah, anyway, I think and I find it really embarrassing to actually even say that. But I think sometimes it needs to be said that we do need your support.
Yeah. And I just want to apologize to my family and stuff who have to now worry for something they did not sign up for. I feel like it's just not fair on them. But yeah, such is the what is it? A war we're in, a perpetual war against Islam. If you like these videos and want to support me in my activism, then you can support me on Patreon or PayPal. Stay free, everyone.